Hello Strength Matters, welcome to Whiteboard Wednesdays. An opportunity for us to offer as much as we can in terms of training principles and training concepts to help you become the best version of yourselves. I'm Phil McDougall.
And I'm Scott Olson. So today's topic of the 7 movement patterns is the squat. And Phil, can you take the lead and define for us what the squat even is?
The squat is the human sitting position. The squat is a movement where the knees flex to the same degree as the hips. I think that's about all we need, right?
Yeah. So the ability to crouch down to the ground. The only question is if we're training it, we can do that under load. We can do that in a lot of different dynamic ways.
Yeah. I was about to disappear down to the floor, but I realized you wouldn't be able to see me down. The squat position is where you should be several times a day to go to the toilet. It should be where you hang out on the floor. You should be able to sit into a squat for minutes, arguably hours at a time while you socialize and eat. But we Westerners have lost that ability because we spend no time there. Mm-hmm. So it's important that we have a squat in its own movement pattern, basically because it is its own movement pattern. But the point of today is to put all of the squat movements that occur or should occur in daily life and in a training environment, we'll put it all into a continuum, and it just goes back to that the principle that you shouldn't be doing anything down here until you've mastered everything up here, because that's how injury happens, and everybody can fit in up here somewhere, and then it's a case of progressing down. So we start with rocking. What we mean by that is you're down on the floor on all fours, and you basically just push your butt back, and that means that your knees and hips are flexing at the same rate. You'll see a baby rock into a backward position. If you spend any time down on the floor, you have to rock. It's part of the squat. I once saw a drunken homeless man of Asian descent. He was on the floor, very drunk, and as we were approaching him, he saw us in his drunken way, and he was on his floor. I was like, oh God, what's he going to do? He rolled over from his back, straight onto the soles of his feet, and stood up. I was like, whoa, that was amazing. I wish I could do that. Obviously, he must have grown up away from Western culture, must have grown up on the floor, because his mobility was amazing. And I think that's what the ability to squat comes down to, is good mobility throughout the whole body, especially ankles, hips, and thoracic spine.
Yep. And it's worth just using a modern example in the fitness gyms around the country. A lot of people are taught to squat as part of their routine, but what we often see is not clean mechanics, trusting the body, having good mobility, essentially going up and down in the squat position. What people tend to do is lean forward, and for some people, they're leaning forward tremendously because they're relying on their quads. They're relying on certain parts that are strong because they don't know how to achieve a true squat.
Yeah,
where there's glute engagement and other clean dynamics.
Tons of reasons why people can't squat. A lot of it may be to do with lack of ability to flex their ankles forwards. So they have to send their body weight backwards, so the front has to come forward so they don't fall backwards. So the squat it's a mobility based movement. I know I keep referencing Dr. Kelly Starrett, but I read in one of his books once that a good test to see whether you can squat or not, or whether you have optimal range of motion in your ankles and in your hips, by putting your feet together, knees together, toes touching, heels touching, and squat down as far as you can. If you can get your butt down to your heels, you've got optimal range of motion.
Yeah.
I put it to you to try that and
try that, see where you're at.
Yeah.
And sometimes people, they think about that, they try it, they fail it, and they might even say that I couldn't possibly do what you just described. And so just as looking at the continuum and thinking of a quick regression is, well, maybe they're not yet able to do that, but can they hold on to a door frame, or can they hold on to a rope or a post and get down into that position? Because if we're deloading the body and it's now a supported squat, you'll often find that their joints move just fine. So it's really now a training principle to get them to where they want to go.
So just moving on to the continuum. Most of these are more in a training environment. Now, as we know, you should never add extra load to a squat. You've already got your body weight. You should never add load until you've mastered the movement itself with body weight and in a slow fashion. So before you even think about doing anything that involves a kettlebell or barbell or any kind of lifting, you should be able to get to a point with body weight and put your hands forwards and squat down to below parallel. You say that's a good...
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, at no point should you have a kettlebell in your hand to balance out the weight or whatever reason you may be given if you can't get to below parallel. So we're going to put body weight squat. That's the kind of the litmus test. Body weight squat has to be achieved before you do anything with load. Further down the line, you've got adding speed. So that's O stands for Olympic. So you've got the Olympic snatch, which is an explosive hinge, bang, followed by an overhead squat. Now, that's kind of the most advanced thing that you can do involving the squat pattern, probably, because you've got load above your head. Also up there, you've got jumping. Now, so like kind of we're talking about box jumps, or being able to jump up onto something or jump down from something and decelerate. Now, so that's adding speed to the equation, right? Oops. Right, okay. So first you've got to master body weight, then you add load, and then you add speed. Now, the problem that we see as therapists is people are doing this without first mastering this. Back to the whole basics of this continuum principle. People have come to me in the past wanting to learn Olympic lifts. I don't know the first thing about Olympic lifts. I'll send them to somebody else. But the first thing I tell them is, right, you want to learn the Olympic snatch? I'll say you can go off and start your Olympic lifting journey only if you can do a barbell overhead squat for 2 minutes. So that means you can start your speed training if you have the mobility. I call it my Olympic lifting litmus test. Well, I don't even do it. I can't do it, so I don't touch Olympic lifting. But can you hold a 20 kilogram barbell overhead in snatch grip down into a deep squat and hold that position for 2 minutes? If you can, yeah, brilliant. You've got good range of motion, and you should start your snatch journey. So,
brilliant. I'll just go ahead and put this out there. A lot of us can't do that, but we can apply this logic, which is okay. If I'm starting to think advanced movements, advanced techniques, can I hold a wooden dowel over my head and go into a deep squat? And if I've achieved that, can I then apply this duration? Can I hold it over my head, this wooden dowel, go into a deep squat and hold it for 2 minutes?
whilst breathing.
Whilst breathing, brilliant. Without being in traumatic pain. I'll tell you, if you never achieve that, and you do, a lot of things in life get easier. But let's go through the list of some of these other complicated squat patterns. So for loaded squats, of course, and we're no longer in the ballistic mode or the Olympic lifting mode, but there's a tremendous difference to the body between, let's say, the kettlebell goblet squat, or holding a med ball or an object, which is a great way of centering your mass, achieving very good strength training principles, and yet completely different than having an offset weight like the back squat or the front squat, these different approaches. But beyond the loaded squats, I just see a couple more terms up there. We've got the Zerker, we've got pistol, we've got, Phil, take us through that real quick.
Yeah, well, let's use the pistol squat. The pistol squat requires quite an I'd say optimal level of mobility in the ankle and the hip joint. So the pistol squat, the pistol squat's going to kind of come in down here somewhere. Then you can add load and make it a more advanced pistol squat. Kind of in order to get to the strength for a bodyweight squat. So we're talking to all ranges of ability here. So, in one part of my mind, I'm thinking my mum. Sorry to keep using your mum. But, obviously I'm not going to ask my mum to try Olympic lifting snatching, right? But something I'll absolutely get her to do is rocking patterns. Next step, I'll get her to do a supported bodyweight squat. That means holding on to something, letting herself down, and just getting into that hip opening routine, trying to keep the chest up. You've got supported squats. And face the wall squats. So basically means how close can you face a wall? You can put your hands there for ease to take the thoracic spine out of the equation. You could put your hands up there to really test. This is another test of mobility, but I would say to you, if you can stand within 6 inches of a wall, heels down, feet shoulder width apart, hands down to your sides, and you can get down to below parallel in your upper legs, that's another litmus test to start adding load to a squat, because that shows that you can extend your spine and everything is working the way it should.
Yeah.
Further down, so this face the wall squat, it depends on how you do it. That one that I just described then, that's your basic, can you do that within 6 to 9 inches? Yeah. You'll find some hypermobile people who are able to do that same one with feet together, knees together, hips, biceps against your ears, and stand literally face against the wall and go right the way down to deep squat. Now, that's phenomenal. So yeah, I would say to that person, yeah, you're cool to start doing kettlebell overhead squats, barbell overhead squats. Let's even test you the litmus test for Olympic lifts. If they're hypermobile, then they'll have to work on other aspects of their 10 components. But anyway, so we could go on about this for ages, but I think what we'll do when we stop rolling is we'll put these into an order, a smart order that is in order, and you could argue whether one should be before the other, but just look out for the blog and you'll find this squat continuum from the most basic to the most advanced.
We covered a lot of ground here, and we could keep on with these amazing concepts, so we're going to touch upon this in the future. But this is the squat, the basic human movement pattern, and thank you for joining us for Whiteboard Wednesdays.
Thank you.